Hello, good morning everyone. This morning we are looking at comparing information, ideas, facts and opinions. So let's make a start. So our aims and outcomes today, that by the end of this session you must examine text for similarities, examine text for differences, identify facts, opinions and ideas. You should understand the different ways this is conveyed in different texts, and you could understand an array of diverse methods of conveyance. So we're looking today at reading and how to answer questions on the level 2 reading paper. And these are the types of question you might get, which are asking you to summarise information from different texts. So you might be asked to say how texts are similar or how they differ. And you might be asked to compare the texts in order to answer a specific question. And this is often worded as compare and contrast, with compare referring to finding similarities and contrast referring to finding the differences between the texts. The texts may look at comparing information, ideas or opinions. And you might be required to discuss how that information is conveyed in the different documents. So you should give relevant and precise ideas from the texts when you are writing your answer, and also provide direct examples from the texts. And don't use your own knowledge. So even if it's a subject that you know an awful lot about, the reading paper is about showing that the examiner that you have read and understood the documents given in the test. So your own knowledge should not be added to your answers. And don't give unsubstantiated answers. So you need to provide ideas and examples from the text in your answer. So we're going to look at what the questions look like, and they might be similar to this. So this is the wording of the sort of question that you might get in a level 2 reading test. Explain how all 3 documents have different ideas about an issue or topic. So it could be about pollution, for example. So different, that means you are contrasting the ideas. So another question could be, explain how all 3 documents have similar ideas about the issue or topic. So there you are comparing. Using the information in the 3 source documents, explain whether you think X is a good idea or not. Compare and contrast the 3 source documents. Which is most likely to make you want to support X and Y? So you could be asked to compare, to contrast, or to do both in the question that you are given. Compare views, information or ideas in document A with the views, information or ideas expressed in document B, and how these views are conveyed. So these questions are worth 3 to 4 marks, and in order to achieve the top marks, the examiner would expect your answer to include precise ideas using all the texts and giving examples. So we're going to have a look at how to do that. So summarising. So you need to make it clear that you understand the question. So it could be that if you get a question to explain how the texts have similar ideas, then you would make it clear you understand the question by beginning your answer with one way the texts are similar, or one way the texts have similar ideas is that. So straight away, you are explaining those texts, you're showing the examiner that you understand the question in your first sentence. So 2, explain the information in your own words. So don't just copy what's in the documents given, you need to put that into your own words. So also you should refer directly to each text using short quotes, so to back up the answer or the argument you are giving. So we've looked at speech marks, so use speech marks to quote from the text. So be precise in your answer. So not being vague. So are they the same or different? And giving evidence for that. Make it clear which text you are writing about. So it's really important. So the examiner knows that you've understood what you've read, that when you are giving an answer, that you refer to text A, text B. Text A says that, and giving a quote. Text B does this. So you're using the name of the text that are given so that the examiner knows what you're referring to and that you have understood the ideas conveyed in each text. And you should distinguish between information, ideas, and opinions. So one of the texts, one of the documents might be someone's personal account, and you could explain that document A is based on opinion because of they refer to and then you could quote from the text. They tell us that I live in this area, so I think. So using what's in the text to formulate your answers. So facts, ideas and opinions. A fact is established and verifiable information. So you could go and check that, or in this example, it's 185 miles from Manchester to London. That could be checked. So it does say there, some authors might write incorrect or false information, but the point is that you could go and check that. Okay. Ideas and opinions can be very similar. So ideas are often abstract, widely held beliefs, such as the example here, pollution is a problem we must all face in society. Opinions are more personal, so I believe, I know that this happens because I live in this area. I know that pollution is really bad in this river because my house backs onto the river and I've seen this, that and the other happening. So opinions can't be verifiable, opinions are not verifiable. They are what somebody what somebody thinks themselves. So match the content to the text extract, the content type. Excuse me. So a fact, an idea and an opinion. And then we've got 3 sentences here. It is held true by scientists that one day we will colonize Mars. So is that a fact, an idea, or an opinion?
Fact. It's an opinion.
So it is held true by scientists.
It's a fact. It is held Okay.
So
It's a fact.
is it, pardon?
It's a fact, but
So
it can be checked.
So can we know for sure with absolute certainty that one day we will colonize Mars? Can we say what will definitely happen in the future?
It's an opinion because it might be happening or it might not be happening.
So good. It could be an opinion.
Okay.
It could also be an idea. So
It cannot be a fact.
we should. So can anybody tell me which one the fact is? So we'll rule that one out.
The minister resigned on Friday.
Good. So the minister resigned on Friday. That's the fact. It's we can go and check that. We could watch the news. We could search for that on the internet. Yes, we found out the minister resigned on Friday. It's a given date. We know when it happened. So it's a fact. So we've got here an opinion and an idea in the other two sentences.
Mm.
So remember, an opinion is what one person thinks, and an idea is a more general view that might be held by a number of people or a society or a group of people.
Okay.
So which one would be the idea that's held by a group of people?
We should give money, more money to foreign aid.
Right, so the idea is the scientist one, because that's a general view held by a group of people. So it's an idea. Whereas an opinion is more personal. So when it's an opinion, you will often find personal pronouns such as I, we.
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
So I think that, we think that. So it's either one individual, a belief held by one individual, or by a small group of people. So this person thinks. So I think that, so it really, they've missed a few words out. It could read, I think we should give more money to foreign aid. Okay, so it's a small group or one person, whereas an idea is a more general view. Does that make sense? So they are very closely related, but they are slightly different. Okay. So one of the questions you might have is about similarities between texts. And this is an example here. Explain how these texts have similar ideas about the environment. So I'm going to read it through and then we'll look at the boxes that are around the text. One way that these texts are similar is that they all try to encourage the reader to take care of the environment. Document A says that everyone has a duty to look after the planet. Document B says that we must do more. And document C says that we can save the planet. All texts encourage the reader to recycle. Document A says the reader should always recycle where possible. Document B says that recycling is easy. Document C says that recycling is the least we can do. Finally, every document stresses the fact that looking after the planet must be seen as a long-term issue. So this is what we call like a model answer. So it's an example of what an answer to that question could look like. So if we start to look at the different sentences answering the question, we can see in the first sentence, so the question, explain how these texts have similar ideas. Straight away, the person has answered one way that these texts are similar. So straight away, the examiner knows that you've understood what you need to do. Okay, so that's a really good way to start your answer. So one way these texts are similar, because you've been asked to explain how they are similar. So they've given a summary there. They all try to encourage the readers to take care of the environment. So they've summarised very briefly what the gist of each document is, to encourage the reader to take care of the environment. So document A says that everyone has a duty to look after the planet. Document B says we can do more, and document C says we can save the planet. So they've used short quotes, and they've got those speech marks in, so you need to remember to use those to show that you are quoting. And they've given a short quote from every document that has a similar meaning. Everyone has a duty to look after the planet. We must do more. We can save the planet. So they're showing similar quotes from each of the different documents or texts. As well, as I mentioned previously, you need to show the examiner which text you're referring to. So if you just put a quote in, but without adding document A, document B, document C, and so on, then it's not going to get the marks in the same way, because how do we know you've not just made that up? You need to write which document you've taken that quote from. Okay, and that's all of these things are how you're building up your marks when you're answering the question. And so at the end of the answer, this person has paraphrased. So they've quoted throughout the answer, but then their last sentence they've paraphrased. So they put into their own words the ideas of the documents. Finally, every document stresses the fact that looking after the planet must be seen as a long-term issue. So we'll look at conveyance in a moment. So I'm just going to ignore that one for the minute. So we can see there we've got showing an understanding of the question, using short quotes. The person has identified the documents they're referring to with their quotes, and they've also paraphrased the general ideas from the documents or texts. Okay, so that's a way that you can answer the questions. So conveyance is how the message is put across. So let's look at these two short extracts. What have we learned from the disaster? Firstly, that budgets were responsible for the increase in coastal erosion. Secondly, over 3,000 more homes in Norfolk are under threat. Finally, the Home Secretary voted against the climate change bill. And the second one, living as I do on the coast in Cromer, I can see how much the coastline has receded in only the last 10 years. And what has been done? Absolutely nothing. So both of these short extracts are about coastal erosion, but they are put across in different ways. Can anyone tell me any thoughts they have about the way these different extracts put across that message about coastal erosion? Any comments at all about both of them, or one or either of them?
The second one is idea, someone idea.
Good. So the second one is someone talking about their own experience, isn't it? It's their own personal experience. It's their opinion, isn't it?
Yeah. And the first one is giving the facts and giving the time what's it called? The figure to show how it's
Yeah.
affected and all that.
Excellent. So the first one's got verifiable information. We could go and check that, couldn't we? Over 3,000 more homes. We could check that. Is it really? You know, you could. It's a fact. It looks to be a fact, but you could go and check it. Okay, well done. So the first extract conveys the information in a more objective way. So it's not putting personal opinion in. It uses more formal language, and it presents, as you've pointed out, facts and statistics. The second is personal, which you identified again, well done. It's more emotive and less formal. So the emotive language, what has been done? Absolutely nothing. Okay, so we can imagine how that person's feeling. It sounds like they feel angry, okay, about what's happened. So there are many ways to convey facts, opinions and ideas, and these can all help you to understand whether it is fact, ideas and opinions in the text. So fact-based language, as you identified, figures, verifiable information. Informal language, so use of personal pronouns, contractions and so on. Quotes, so speech marks. So that you can identify from the speech marks they put quotes in. Emotive language, so like in the last example, you know from reading it that the person feels angry. What's been done? Absolutely nothing. Precise language, so making clear what the writer is trying to say, not using vagueness. So the layout, has it got headings, subheadings and so on. The details, who, what, when, where, why did something happen, what's been included. General point statistics as well, so fact-based language, statistics related. A casual approach, so is it informal, using colloquial or everyday language. Contractions, I can't imagine what's going to happen, I won't allow this. More everyday language. Motivational language, we need to do something right away, can you help? Sensitive language, personal experience, so the example we just looked at, I live there, I know what's going on. Formal language, so the vocabulary choice, not using contractions such as I'll, won't, don't, can't and so on. Urgent language, so sentences such as time is running out, we all need to act now. So looking at those, we can see there's so many different ways that a message can be conveyed, and you can refer to some of that in your answer. So for example, document 1 uses fact-based language and includes statistics. In contrast, document 2 uses more informal language and personal pronouns. So it's just a way to explain how they differ or how they are the same. Both documents use formal language. One, and then give an example of something in the text. Okay, so does anyone have any questions at the moment? Okay, so match the examples to the method of conveyance. So let's tackle the problem of homelessness together. So is that formal, sensitive, fact-based, motivational, casual, or personal experience?
Motivation.
Good. So that is motivational. Excuse me. It is said that inter alia, the gap in wealth, has considerably, it should be, exacerbated homelessness. So is that formal, sensitive, fact-based, casual, or personal?
Motivational.
So motivational is the first one.
Okay.
So the second one. What type of language is it using?
Informal.
Formal, isn't it? We've got inter alia, considerable, exacerbated. So the choice of language is formal. If someone applies for the role, he or she will be required to own a vehicle.
Fact.
So has anyone else got, what do they think?
Personal experience.
Okay.
It's personal experience.
So I can see why you think that. Let's leave that one. Let's come back to that one because it's a bit tricky, that one. As a former engineer there, I can tell you that our equipment was substandard.
That's personal experience.
That's personal experience.
So personal experience.
Experience.
The equipment had not been replaced in the statutory 10-year period.
That's fact
That is
based.
fact.
I don't know the facts, but I'm pretty sure homelessness is on the rise.
Personal.
So,
Sensitive language. Personal.
so I don't know the facts. So we've got we've got a couple of contractions in there. Don't. I'm pretty sure.
Homelessness.
It's everyday language, colloquial language. It's not
It's
full.
casual.
So it's casual.
It's casual. Casual. Okay.
Yeah. So casual is more how you would speak than
In everyday language,
Right.
like how you speak.
Yeah, exactly. So it's more like speech. I don't know the facts. I'm pretty sure homelessness is on the rise. So you could imagine to change that to formal, so the opposite. I do not know the facts, but so the facts are unknown, but we can be confident that homelessness is on the rise. So you could easily change that to more formal language, but the way it's written there is casual. The contractions, such as I'm, they're a big indicator that it's more casual. Okay, so the last one that we've got left, if someone applies for the role, he or she will be required to own a vehicle. So sensitive. So because rather than saying to apply for the role, you must have a vehicle. So it's quite direct. So making it a bit more impersonal is what we can describe as sensitive. So if someone applies for the role, he or she will be required to own a vehicle. So rather than saying, don't apply if you've not got a vehicle, don't apply if you've not got a car, is quite direct and could be seen as quite rude. And also some people might say, oh, it's you know, that's what's the word, it's not fair, it's an unfair. Imagine it's a job advert, it would be discriminatory. because you're saying don't apply if you've not got a car. So to make it more sensitive, if someone applies to the role, he or she will be required to own a vehicle. Okay, so it's a bit trickier, that one, but it's just written in a more sensitive way. Rather than coming across as rude and direct, they've made it more of a situation. If, if using the word if someone applies, they would be required to own a vehicle. But yeah, my mouse isn't really working. Hold on. Okay, so we've got another example here of an answer. See how the texts are conveyed. So one way these texts are similar, so straight away again, we're launching into comparing, contrasting, or whatever you've been asked to do. So you're referring straight away to the question and showing that you understand what the examiner wants to see. One way these texts are similar is that they all try to encourage the reader to take care of the environment. Document A says that everyone has a duty to look after the planet. Document B says that we must do more. And document C says we can save the planet. All texts encourage the reader to recycle. Document A says the reader should always recycle where possible. Document B says recycling is easy. Document C says recycling is the least we can do. Finally, every document stresses the fact that looking after the planet must be seen as a long-term issue. So to improve this answer, you can see the boxes at the side. Document A uses urgent language. So we're trying to explain in our answer how the texts are conveyed. Document A uses urgent language to say that everyone has a duty to look after the planet. Document B uses more casual language, saying recycling is easy. Okay, so in your answers, if you were asked about how the message is conveyed in the different texts or documents, you can refer to those different types of language in your answer. It could be to show how they're the same, how they're different. They both use sensitive language. They both use emotive language. Document A and C use more formal language. So just referring to those different types of language to explain how the message is conveyed. So you might also get questions about differences. So here's an example question. Explain how these texts have different ideas about the environment. So straight away again, one way in which the texts differ. So if you're asked about different ideas in the text, that's a really good opening sentence sentence starter for your answer. So even just learning these sentences to start your answer, one way in which the texts differ, that's a really good start, because straight away the examiner knows that you've understood what you need to do. So one way in which the texts differ is in the extent of things they suggest the reader does. Text A says that the reader must do all in their power. B says she makes small everyday changes, making a world of difference, while text C promotes energy saving measures as well as recycling. Text A and C suggest that individuals should be responsible for being eco-friendly. But text B says that the government has responsibility. Finally, they each suggest that very different amounts of money that can be saved, redirected to other causes. So in this example, we've got quotes and we've got paraphrasing. So we've already identified the good start to the answer, telling the examiner you understand the question. And we've also got short quotes and paraphrasing to refer directly to the document. So we've got a short quote from text A and text B with a summary of the idea in text C. So you can use a combination of those. It's definitely good to have some quotes in your answer, but don't use them for every part of the answer. So also putting in some paraphrasing or summarising. So again, we can see there that the person who's written this answer has used text A, B, text C. They've used the name of the text, the given name of the text, so the examiner knows which one they're referring to. So, and they've referred to the personal conveyance in the text as well. And at the end, the final paragraph, the final sentence, again, they've paraphrased it. So rather than putting another quote in, they've paraphrased the ideas from the text. Finally, they each suggest very different amounts of money that can be saved or redirected to other causes. Okay, so starting your answer off with a good sentence starter to show you understand the question. Use a mixture of short quotes and paraphrasing to refer directly to the documents. Name the document you're referring to, and you can also paraphrase the ideas to summarise at the end of your answer. So they're all things that will be expected to achieve the marks. So as well as being asked to compare, you might be asked to compare with a focus, a specific focus. So we've got an example here. You look at this example. You are considering becoming more eco-friendly. Which text is most likely to persuade you? So all of the texts must be about being eco-friendly, the environment, recycling, saving energy and so on, we'd imagine. Which text is most likely to persuade you? So you're going to have to compare and contrast and to give some examples of the information. So the examiner will want to see the short quotes, the paraphrasing, making sure that you have named the documents that you are referring to. So let's read through the answer. Text A is most likely to persuade me to be more eco-friendly because it backs up every suggestion with a fact. CFL bulbs consume 40% less energy and last 10 times longer than traditional bulbs. Text B is mostly about a council's recycling provision. There are 50 bottle banks and doesn't provide any practical suggestions. Text C offers the most extreme views and some of its suggestions are practical. Not everybody has access to a vegetable oil converter in order to run a car on chip fat oil. The practical ideas in text A, such as refusing plastic straws and walking instead of driving, make the reader feel that being eco-friendly is achievable. So again, straight away, the first sentence is starting to answer the question, which text is most likely to persuade you? Text A is most likely to persuade me. And then going into the reasons why and looking at the different texts. Using short quotes and paraphrasing. So we've got facts, statistics, speech marks. So we can see there are quotes from each text there. Text A, text B, text C are referred to. And again, we've got some paraphrasing in the last couple of sentences. So does anyone have any questions about that answer? Okay, so comparing opinions and ideas. Should Britain change its electoral system? Text B is the more persuasive text for me, as it argues its opinions well and with certainty. Proportional representation will stop votes from being wasted, but give us a much clearer idea of how the country as a whole votes. Text A seems only to be concerned with maintaining the wonder of our 100-year-old democracy. Text C is more experimental, but also cautious in tone, suggesting we could look at trialling new electoral systems during local elections. Text B declares that only through electoral reform will we see Britain continue to be the flagship democracy deep into the 21st century. And this is more inspiring to the reader. So again, in this answer, the person has started their answer saying, referring to the text. So they've started their answer straight away. Text B is the more persuasive text for me. And then throughout the answer, they've looked at the different texts. And then at the end, we can see that they have showed cohesion by underlining their initial statement. So they've gone back to their first sentence at the end. So the use of short quotes and paraphrasing, again, using the speech marks to show that it's a direct quote from the text, and we know it's from text B. So again, it's essential to name the text that you're referring to, text A, text B. So we can see that in that next sentence, text A seems only to be concerned with maintaining the wonder of a 100-year-old democracy. So we've got a quote there. In the next sentence, text C is more experimental but also cautious in tone, suggesting we could look at trialling new electoral systems during local elections. So that's using paraphrasing. So we've got a mixture of quotes and paraphrasing. Okay, and then the writer ends, we've got some formal language there in the quote and in the person who's writing the answer. So text B declares, so rather than just saying says, declares that only through electoral reform we will see Britain continue to be the flagship democracy deep into the 21st century, and this is more inspiring to the reader. So rather than saying, so rather than writing the quote about the flagship democracy deep into the 21st century, and then writing something like, and this persuaded me, and I agreed with this, the person who's writing their answer has made it more formal, less personal. They put this is more inspiring to the reader. So it emphasises the point of why it's more persuasive. So it's not just more persuasive to them personally, but to everybody who reads it. Okay, any questions about that answer? Okay. So now we've looked at a few model answers and had a look at how they were formulated and looked at things like paraphrasing, quotes, naming the documents used. We're going to look at some answers and decide how many marks they get. So there's the answer on the left and the mark scheme on the right. The question asked was, you are considering becoming more eco-friendly. Which text is most likely to persuade you? So the answer given is, I would say that document 1 is the most persuasive. I like the way the ideas relate to my own life. The other documents aren't directly relevant to me. After reading document 1, I think I would definitely feel confident in being eco-friendly. Okay, so you could either get 1, 2, 3 or 4 marks for this question. So first of all, can we award 1 mark? So let's start with the mark scheme here, and let's think about what marks could be awarded. So can they get 1 mark? Has this person selected the text, selected one of the texts, and provided a brief explanation based on the text selected?
He did select text document 1.
Good. So they have selected a text, so we can tick that. Have they provided a brief explanation of why they've chosen that text? So I like the way the ideas relate. The other documents aren't relevant. So have they provided a brief explanation?
He did, yeah.
They did, didn't they? Okay, so we've got 1 mark there. Let's see if they can get 2 marks. Have they provided a detailed explanation based on the text provided or selected, sorry?
Yes.
Yes.
Is it detailed?
Yes, I would like to feel confident by being eco-friendly, yeah.
He said his opinion about the
So
document.
he's repeating his opinion, but has he given more detailed explanation of the text?
No, he didn't have any code from the text.
So this question, I mean, straight away we can see it's really short, so it's unlikely to be getting 4 marks. But if we look at the mark scheme, it's only really getting 1 mark because it selected the text and provided a brief explanation of why they've chosen it, but it's not given a detailed explanation. They've not given any more information about the text, have they? There's no paraphrasing or quotes or anything like that. So just 1 mark for that answer. Okay, so we've got another one to look at. So the question here was, you are considering becoming more eco-friendly. Which text is most likely to persuade you? And the answer is because document 3 clearly outlines the consequences of not caring for our planet. I found this the most persuasive. It was news that going green would save me money too, and I don't want to leave a terrible legacy. So while the tips like recycle and reuse in document 1 are something I could do today, they feel like instructions rather than persuasion. Document 3 also uses direct address and a rhetorical question. Who doesn't want to save the planet? I agreed. Okay, so let's look again. Let's start with giving 1 mark. So have they selected a text that they think will persuade and provided a brief explanation.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Good. So they've got document 3, haven't they? So they've selected text and providing a brief explanation. They've definitely got more really than a brief explanation, so we can tick that. So we've definitely got 1 mark. Let's have a look at if they can be awarded 2. They've selected a text, we know they've done that. Provide a detailed explanation based on the text selected. So have we got some detail there?
Yes.
Yeah, so it was news that going green would save me money too. So we've got a quote there from the text. So we can tick that. So we've definitely got 2 marks. So to get 3 marks, they've selected a text and provided a brief explanation which contains a good consideration of at least 2 texts. So as well as document 3, has this person referred to any other documents? So have they referred to document 1 and or document 2 as well?
Yeah.
Yes. So we've only got document 1. We haven't got, so it's, sorry, here. So they haven't referred to document 2, but we have got another document referred to. So we've got 3 marks there. So to get 4 marks, they should select a text, provide a detailed explanation and a good consideration of all 3 texts. Well, we know that they've only referred to 2 of the texts, document 3 and document 1, so they can't get 4 marks.
Yeah.
Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah. There was nothing on document 2.
Exactly. So to get all 4 marks for answering the question, they needed to also refer to document 2. Okay, but it's a good answer. It's a good start. They just need a bit more information and to refer to document 2, and they could be getting full marks for that question. Okay, so what you want to make sure when you're doing your test is that you don't drop any marks by forgetting to refer to all of the texts. Okay, because that's an easy way that you could miss some marks. You could give a really good answer, because this is a good answer, but you've forgotten that you need to use all of the texts. Okay, so just make sure you're referring to all of them. So that answer would get 3 marks. Oh, well done. So we've got another answer here, and the question was, compare the views expressed in text 1 with those in text 4 and how those views are conveyed. So I'll read it out. In text 1, the author claims that young people are doing less and less exercise due to the increase in indoor activities, mainly computer games. He doesn't quote any facts or sources, and his opinion seems to be based on his personal experience with his son. In text 4, the author has a very different view, stating that children will always play video games, but the increased perception that the media gives is that it is unsafe for kids to play outside is the key factor. She backs that up with the statistic that 64% of parents interviewed by the Daily Chronicle said they wouldn't let their children play outside unsupervised. She uses many other facts and figures to back up her reasoning. Okay, so let's have a look. So to get the marks here, so it's a different type of question. We are comparing, so saying how they're similar, and we're also needing to say how the views are conveyed. So to get 1 mark, the learner's response will have some mention of at least one of text 1's views. So yes, we've definitely got that, haven't we? and one of the views expressed in text 4. So have we got a view from text 4 as well?
Yes.
Yeah. And because they've been clearly named in text 1, in text 4, it's easy to identify that. But limited and implicit comparison and no consideration of how views are conveyed. Well, we have got that, so we can definitely give them 1 mark. Let's move on to 2 marks. Compare at least one of text 1's views and one of the views expressed in text 4 with some comparison. So we've got text 1 talking about young people doing less exercise, playing computer games, and talking about it's conveyed as a personal experience. And so it has got text 1's views, one of them in text 4, yes. So in text 4, the author has a different view. So is there any comparison? Does the person who's written this answer, have they considered how the views are conveyed? So whether that's personal, informal.
The first one is a personal opinion, he said, and the second one is backed up with statistics. That means fact.
Yes, so we've definitely got some consideration of how they are conveyed as well. So there's definitely we've got 2 marks. Let's see if we can get the full 3 marks. They have a clear and explicit comparison of text 1's views and the views in text 4 with examples from both sources. So have we got examples or quotes from both sources?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
we have.
So we've got here text 1, we can see the speech marks, and here starts the quote from text 4. So we'll tick that. So is there clear comparison of how the views are conveyed in both texts?
Yep.
Good. So they've even written there the author has a very different view.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Yes.
They do, don't they? And he's also written at the end, she uses other facts and figures. So very different from, he doesn't quote any facts or sources. His opinion seems to be personal. So there's a clear comparison. So this answer would get the full 3 marks. Okay. So are there any questions about that answer? Sorry. Okay. So let's have a look at the quiz. So what is a summary? The gist of a text, careful reading, reading the first sentences of a paragraph, or a short version that recounts the major ideas of a text or texts.
It's a short version that recounts the major ideas of a text or text.
Good, well done. What should you consider in questions that ask you to make comparisons? So if you're asked to compare 2 texts, are you going to look at how the texts differ, how they are similar, what they are about, or details from all of the texts? So if you're comparing, what does the examiner want you to do?
How they are similar.
Excellent. So comparing how they are similar. Good. Okay. Can anyone remember what would it, rather than comparing the documents, what would it ask you to do if they wanted to know how they are different?
Compare and contrast.
Contrast, good. So it might ask you to do both, compare and contrast, so the same and different. It might ask you to contrast them, okay, which is looking at how they are different. Okay. So thank you for your contributions today. Again, go on to Moodle, practice the question and answers on there, and that's the best way to improve, is just to keep practicing. And that's it for today, and I look forward to hopefully seeing some of you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
All
Have
right.
a good day, everybody.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.